Hey guys, welcome back to the session. In the last session, we have discussed about the reference attribute of a property element. We'll recap that session again, okay, and we'll continue with the auto wiring after the discussion of the reference attribute because it's very important to discuss the reference attribute before we are going to discuss about the auto wiring feature. Okay, so when we have to use the reference attribute. Okay, if there are two beans, okay, bean A, there are two beans, bean A and bean B. If bean A references bean B, then we have to provide this configuration information explicitly. Okay, so how we have provided, you can go to that video on. Okay, so let me give that example. Okay, so with the help of reference attribute only, we have provided that bean information, reference information. Okay, for example, we have a customer and vendor. Vendor is referencing to the customer. Vendor is referencing to the customer. Now I have to provide a reference. Like vendor is referring to the customer. So whenever vendor is calling, whenever vendor wants customer details, he should get the customer details without any hesitation. So we have to configure, right? In our configuration file, we have to configure this information. So whenever I'm calling, whenever the vendor is calling, the customer should give his details. So how we need to configure? With the help of this reference attribute. Okay, this we have discussed in the last session. Okay, if you people or don't understand this like particular topic, you can go back to the like earlier session. You can watch this reference attribute and just recap it. Okay, fine. So we have used this reference attribute. Okay, so in there is one more way. Like if you don't want to provide this extra line, we don't want to provide this extra line. Okay, no problem. You don't need to provide this one. We have one more feature, like which is provided by the Spring community. That is called Autowire. Okay, so we'll move to the next topic that is called Autowire. Okay, so Autowire. So autowiring. So what is autowiring? Who provided this autowiring feature? Autowiring is a feature provided by the Spring framework that helps us to reduce some of the configurations information, like some of the configurations, by intelligently guessing what the reference is for some extent. Like what he is trying to say is that what I'm trying to say is auto wiring is a feature which is provided by the Spring framework. With this, you don't need to provide that extra configuration information by using the reference attribute, so on, so something like that. You just have to use this feature. Spring framework will provide, the Spring framework will provide the, or it will guess the reference for some x beam. Okay, we'll see a simple example, okay, for this auto wiring. With this example you people will come to know. Let's go for the example. Okay, so here I have written one simple example. I have written one class. Okay, vendor. So vendor is having vendor name. Okay, sorry, vendor is having vendor name, headquarters and customer details. For these three attributes I have generated the setters and getters. So here you can see here customer is a class. Okay, it's a one more bean which is acting as a property in this vendor class. So there is a relationship between the vendor and customer. Okay, if we go to the customer, there is one more bean, that is customer name, address. Okay, we have generated the setters and getters for this cname and address. Now, as Spring says, whatever the beans you have created, you just have to configure the bean information in configuration XML file if you want to use those beans. Okay, so here I have configured the bean information. So first I have configured the customer. Okay, so I have given the bean definition, bean ID equals to customer and class equals to customer fully qualified class name. Here I have given the properties of the customer and I have given the values as well. Okay, for vendor also I have given the vendor ID equals to vendor and class equals to vendor. And autowire, here you can find the interesting thing, that is autowire equals to by type. So we'll discuss this by type later. So we have given the property name, vendor name and headquarters. Here you can observe one thing, here we haven't provided any reference attribute for the property, right? Here we haven't provided any extra reference attribute, right? So in order to refer this particular B. Okay, so now instead of that, we have used the auto wiring feature. So auto wiring feature. So here auto wire equals to by type. There are two types of auto wiring. Okay, one is auto wiring by type and by name. See, you can see here we have two types of auto wiring. Sorry, we have two types of auto wiring: by name and by type. By name means whenever vendor is requiring the customer details, it will be called with respect to this object name. By type means by type means it will be called with respect to this class name. Okay, so understood what is by type and by name. Okay, so normally depends on situation, people will use by type and by name. Okay, we'll discuss when we are discussing the example, we'll discuss all these things. Okay, fine. Okay, okay. Now we have written the example by using by type. Okay, so let me go to the client application. So here again, I'm loading the configuration XML file and getting the vendor. Okay, so vendor is having the customer name, customer details and the vendor details as well. I'm displaying all these details. Let me run this example once again. Let me see whether it is giving the proper output or not. Okay, let's save this. Okay. See, I got the output. Vendor name is Apple and customer name is Sajjad. Okay, so for the in the same way, if you are if you want to if you want to auto wire with by name, okay, you can use by name. Automatically Spring will use this ID. Okay, fine. Let me run this one, run as Java application. It will display the same mode. Okay, a null pointer exception 17, line number 17. What is this? Customer name.